Moving on to the one redeeming feature of this program, the Hurt Syndicate. We heard people. MJF was in the back. First of all, they're talking to him. He's excited. I know this is going to happen tonight. I'm going to be involved with the Hurts. And the question comes up, well, what are they going to do to you if they say no? And then he's like, oh, you see him thinking. And then MVP comes in and says, we need to, make sure that you come to the ring after our match tonight. We've got something for you. Oh, so what's going to happen here? But in the meantime, they've got to have the World Tag Team Champions wrestle every once in a while. But as we've talked about for weeks now, it's ridiculous that there is no tag team physically over with the fans, work-wise, that is any kind of money match with these guys because everybody else is a bunch of fucking kids. And so here we have a couple of fucking kids, the Martin brothers, Top Flight, Dante and Devonshire, whatever his name is. And, they worked this match smart, I think the Hurts did, because they had the baby faces open up with a bunch of flying, double teaming, got them off balance. They could take some bumps for them because, oh shit, what's going on? And everything. And the faces did the snazzy stuff. And then, boom, they cut them both off. One of them was going to dive through on Lashley, and Lashley standing on the floor, caught him by the neck and just fucking spun him around and rammed him into the post. And Shelton suplexed the other. And they beat him up and they hurt locked Dante. And that was it. They gave the baby faces a bunch of their shit at the start, but if they had beaten these guys up and then let them come back at the end, it would have been ridiculous. And also the match was short. They didn't have time for it. So they got to shine in at the start and then boom, and it was pretty cut and dried from there. But you're thinking then, well, we're going to see, it's what everybody's waiting on. We will see MJF and what's going to go on here, right? That's the point of the thing. Well, suddenly, out comes Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Sammy's still there. Did you know Sammy was still there?
I did know that he was teaming with Dustin in Ring of Honor. I didn't know he was going to be so well dressed. Maybe it's a new Sammy Guevara.
He was dressed in a pale blue prom suit. Remember I told you that tuxedo that I wore to fucking Jerry Jarrett's housewarming? It was the same fucking color. I swear to God. So Dustin is out there with half his face painted, his whole bodysuit on and dressed to wrestle, and Sammy's in a prom outfit. And Dustin, he said something that contained the word asshole and got it bleeped. But then the Hurt Syndicate is in the ring. Dustin and Sammy are on the floor, and Dustin says, I think it's obvious what we want. And there was no reaction at all because no, it wasn't. Because they came, also Dustin and Sammy came out. They've got like 3 or 4 fucking belts hanging off of them. They got Ring of Honor tag team belts. There's another belt there. The 2 guys in the ring are the tag team champions. So they kind of half-ass explain they want a tag title versus tag title match, I guess. Or maybe they want just a match for the tag titles that the Hurts have without putting up theirs. I don't fucking know. Because suddenly, music play. You think, where's MJF? The music plays. Here comes Action Andretti and Leo Rush. And now it...
Crew. Their name is Crew.
Their name should be, who are those 2 guys that are 12 years old and 5'2"? Because they come out, and as soon as Andretti starts talking, the fans are shut the fuck up. And they're trying to bleep that. And Leo Rush talks to Lashley because they got history, right? And I've said Leo should be a manager. God damn it. But they want a tag team title match. Both of them together are not as big as Bobby Lashley. And Shelton Benjamin's a better wrestler than Bobby Lashley. And then Dustin says, no, you can't cut in line. And they all start arguing. And then MVP has to say, okay, enough. You all fight on Collision. And the winner gets us at Double or Nothing. And I wrote, good God, because I see now the Hurts are trying to do their thing and their thing with MJF. But in the middle, they got shoehorned in this confrontation between Dustin Rhodes and a bunch of fucking whining children about who's going to have the match at the pay-per-view, that they had to do that and set up a match on Collision and then get them out of the way so that they could do the thing that everybody was waiting on. And then MVP said, well, I'm being told we've got to go to a break, but when we come back, MJF's going to get what he deserves. So now the MJF or MVP has to be the host of the fucking show now. Before I go any further, this. What the fuck? I would buy it if it was Dustin and Sammy and Andretti and Leo against Shelton and Bobby 4-on-2. It would be entertaining enough they'd go 8 or 10 minutes. Otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here?
Were you hoping, like I was hoping, that Crew would beat Dustin and Sammy? They got that tag title shot?
Well, they're not going to do it until Collision. So we don't know yet.
Well, yeah, and I think they may have taped it, or if they didn't. Either way, I don't know.
So we do know?
I don't know. It's Collision. I actually don't know for sure when it is taped or aired this week. But, yeah, that was a segment, all right. We said they had no tag team division, and this was their response. Every tag team they could, they got out there, and this is all that they could.
And this is all they could.
I'm entertained endlessly by Leo Rush. I've never heard Action Andretti really talk before. Do something. If you do something with them or do nothing with them, not like do something every now and then for like a week with them.
That's what they're going to do, something with them weekly.
We saw
Very
them,
weekly.
It's like monthly. We saw them in 1 month. They were in the crowd in those big jackets, and we said, "What the fuck is that?" And then we didn't see them for another month, and then like they were in a random match. And then we didn't see him for another month. It's just every month they make a random appearance.
Now they wandered out in the crowd last week too, remember? They came out in the crowd to watch another segment, and then they were never seen again. So maybe they got lost or mugged or so, I don't know. I feel like if you're not at least 5'6", you ought to have an adult accompanying you at the crowd of a wrestling show.
And one more thing I'll say, Top Flight, they got fucking Layla Gray out there as their manager. She's one of the best looking women in wrestling, and she's like a feckless babyface manager. Why? How does that help anyone?
How does it help these two be babyfaces when everybody's just sitting there going, what the fuck? Neither one of these two are good enough looking to fucking deserve her. So what? It's just a distraction. Yeah. And why would she be there? Why do they need her help? Why is she there?
If you want her to be a manager or a valet, make her a heel one and actually get something out of it. She's a really good-looking woman, but Missy Hyatt was really good-looking when she was a feckless babyface manager for the Steiners. It wasn't really working.
And that was the Steiners. Instead of the miscellaneous, the nobodies. So that's them fighting words, Brian, when you call somebody a nobody.
I didn't know they were a team now. I knew there was one nobody. I didn't know they were going to be a team. That's pretty scary.
Nobody. No, so they came back.
No.
No. Nobody can do wrestling like you do. And nobody wants to see you too.